Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me for this week's episode of When I Grow Up. On today's episode, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome my longtime friend, Jennie Park. Hey Jennie, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm sorry that I haven't asked you earlier, but I'm really excited that you're here today to tell me about, honestly, well, it's been a minute since you and I have caught up. I feel like we always see each other like here and there. It's funny. David, my husband tonight was like, okay, like, who are you talking to with like tonight? And I told, oh, Jennie Park. I don't know if she's like, I know Jennie. I'm like, right. How do you know Jennie? And he's like, I don't know. We just see each other all the time
randomly.
in random places. But yeah, and then I'm like, Lisa's older sister. And then he goes, that's not how I know her. She's just Jennie to me. And I'm like, oh yes, that's right.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah. But anyways, all that to say, I'm really glad you're here to hear about not just your job, but like I feel like I was mentioning to Jennie before we started recording that and we're going to get into what she does, don't worry. But that I feel like for me, I'm excited to hear about the why, like why you do what you do, the purpose for you behind it. But yes, without me talking too much more, Jennie, what is it that you do?
So right now I am an instructional technology coach at a middle school in Atlanta.
Okay, instructional technology coach
Right.
in a middle school. I'm like, that's got to be a new job kind of thing. Like,
right. So what I do is I am there as a coach to help teachers how to integrate technology in the classroom if they need support with that. So, right, it's actually a really new role. I've been in it for like 5 weeks. So I'm still kind of figuring out how I fit in at my new school. But so I like push into the classrooms, do observations on how technology is being integrated, and also coach teachers one-on-one on different resources that the district might be pushing out. And then the other part is I work with a group of middle school kids on a tech team. And we focus on doing STEM projects. So like science, technology, engineering, math. So that's what I do.
Okay, I'm like really excited that you're here because because I didn't know like the details of your job currently. Before this, you were a teacher, correct?
Yes, before I was a middle school special education teacher.
For how many years?
For 6 years. Yeah.
My gosh, that's longer than I thought actually. But okay, I want to get into that, but so this new role that you have just kind of transitioned to in the last 5 weeks. By the way, why did you transition in the middle of the year? Has it only been 5 weeks?
Yeah, I actually interviewed for it during pre-planning, like a week before the kids come back.
Okay.
And then no, I'm sorry. It was like 2 weeks before the kids started school. And then the week of pre-planning, I got the call saying that I got it. And then I had to give a month's notice at my previous school because I was breaking my contract.
Oh, no.
And then that's why I came in a month after to this new school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So like this role, why did you interview for it? I'm so curious.
So I got my specialist in instructional technology thinking, oh, I want to like make myself more marketable as a teacher because I know that, this is something that we need to know. And that's why I ended up going back to school for it. But in my mind, I planned for this year to be my last year in the classroom. I was like, okay, I'm ready for something new, so let me prepare. But then I had some old coworkers who I used to work with on the same team, and they kind of pushed me. They were like, why are you still in the classroom? You went to school for this. What are you doing? And then they asked around for me and was like, hey, this is available, so you should apply. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to practice. I'm going to practice interviewing. We'll see how it goes. And I felt like I bombed the interview, but somehow just kind of all happened really fast.
That's amazing. So like
Uh,
you said you went back to school to take some classes for this particular type of position?
Um, it was it was another specialist degree.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that
So
degree is needed for this job or just any
you
kind of.
actually don't need it, but everyone that's in my position has a master's. It doesn't have to be in that specific area, but yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so this particular role, is it unique to your county or do are all the schools in
Mm-mm.
Georgia pushing this or
Right. So no, it's not just Atlanta Public School. They have it in different counties and districts, and it's actually a grant that Verizon had partnered with for like a one-to-one initiative, like right before COVID.
really?
So yeah, and then it just kind of happened to be that, yeah, it's a 4-year grant to help kids um, who don't have access to technology.
So
So
under resourced
hmm
maybe?
right.
Okay. Um
So,
well, I love that. I think that's great. I okay, my question then is how what are some examples like of like coaching that you would implement into the classroom as far as like integrating technology?
so we have these two platforms called Flip, which is like it's kind of like social media but for school, where
Okay.
kids can respond through like a video application. So like if you can ask let's say they're doing a math problem and they're solving what the hypotenuse is, and then the
Okay.
teacher can upload this question, and then the kids have to record their response on,
Really?
okay, yeah, and then you can ask any kind of question, and the kids have to respond using the video, and it's like they have like whiteboard functions, text applications, and like you can use like photos and whatever to create this presentation. So it's like a student artifact and pretty much helping teachers use this application or push out. We have something called Paper, which is like a 24/7 like tutoring site where kids can go on and ask questions about their homework because, they might be doing homework at like 10, 11 o'clock,
Right.
and they can just sign on to this app and chat with a tutor to get help for that.
What?
Yeah.
Do all schools have this?
I know Atlanta Public School, we purchased it for the district.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um so like okay, how important do you feel like technology is like to like okay, this is what I'm really trying to get at.
Hmm.
I'm a mom of two little ones, a
Hmm.
5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And there are times where I feel like maybe they don't need that much technology.
Right. Right.
Like maybe they like it's because it's like so accessible.
Hmm.
And I just am like, maybe we can just slow it down a little bit. But I do
Right.
understand that's where the world is going and that they need to like be informed and like need to know things. And that I think it's part of me is like, well, they're gonna eventually learn whether they, outside of my house. Um, but like uh and okay, so okay, I don't think you'll judge me for this, but I have made the conscious decision actually.
Hmm.
Like we go to a private school right now. Eli's in kindergarten. He goes to a private school. It's at a church, and part of the reason that I have decided to send them is because the structure of it is like more of like a like it's called Charlotte Mason.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's
No.
just a teaching curriculum, and then like it's just like they don't like in the higher grades, like I think in middle school they start reinforcing like more technology based learning, but right now
Hmm.
in the elementary school levels it's all like just hands on. It's like a homeschooling type of feel.
Right.
um but I do, again, I'm always like half half, right? Like
Hmm.
it's important, but then like am I stunting something? I don't know. Do you have
Hmm.
any opinions about that?
I think it depends on how the technology is being used, because
Okay.
are kids just using it just to like input information and just watching videos, but or are they using it to actually critically think and creating like a student product? You know, like
Mm,
I think if it's like we can't avoid it. And I understand parents that think, too much screen time, and that's fine. But in school, it's like we want to know, like it's a little different now where we want to know what students are thinking, how they're thinking, what their voice is based on, what do they think about the things that are going on in the world right now, right? Like
mm-hmm,
those things are really important. And how can
mm-hmm.
we use that and use technology to figure out like, okay, let's help you put your voice out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I feel like I am just unaware currently in my own situation in my own season of life as a parent, like of what is happening in the public school system too,
Hmm.
and which I am a big proponent of. I mean, I'm a product of the public school system, and I loved my life and the way I was raised. But I think hearing your side and even just that a job like this exists for
Hmm.
me is like super encouraging. Like I'm like, yes, like that's great. Like I didn't know kids were being resourced this way, honestly.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just me being naive, I guess, but but okay, so what does a typical day for you look like then, Jenny?
Typically I get to school between like 7:30 and 8. Sometimes we have like it's but the thing is like the environment that I work in
Mhm.
and then the school that I went to, it's so different.
Mm.
Like you it's like inner city schools are just so, how do I describe it? It's just um when you're talking about like systemic racism and
Mm.
those things, I've been very naive about growing up.
Yeah, me
And
too.
then yeah, and then
Completely.
I go into like when my first year at Atlanta Public School, they were like, okay, go report to your morning duty. And then I was like, okay, like, where's my post? And they're like, go check backpacks at the metal detector. And I was like, what? What do you mean? So even like just little nuances like that, I just realized even though we're in the same state, like the how there's so much disparity with like resources and even just the like quality of teachers that we have, it's just yeah, it's
Mm.
it was eye-opening.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to ask you to elaborate for those that just have no clue, like even me.
Hmm.
And I'm not ashamed to admit that because I want to know and I want to be like more informed. Um, okay, so I do have listeners that are not from Georgia. So can
Hmm.
you be more specific about the demographic that you, I guess, serve and teach at and help as far as the Atlanta public school system?
Right. I mean, it's like 90% African American, 10% Hispanic. And I mean, the teachers kind of reflect that demographic too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm like one, actually, I'm not being, there's actually three Asian teachers, which is actually a lot
Oh, that seems like a
compared
lot.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's me, a Vietnamese guy, and a Taiwanese lady.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
hmm, yeah. And there's about 100 staff members. So 3% Asian. Yeah. And I mean, I grew up in the suburbs in Duluth. So it was really diverse. Like we had, people from all over.
Yeah. And then I grew
So,
up in the suburbs of East Cobb, Marietta,
hmm.
where it's like 80% white people,
Hmm.
affluent white people. And I just lived in my bubble.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. So that's the demographic that you serve.
Hmm.
Um and you said you switched schools recently because of the new job, right?
Right, but it's in the same district.
Okay. Okay, so a typical day for you, you get in
I
7:30,
go
8.
in and then so whereas before I had a very strict schedule, now
Mhm.
it's more like I have a lot of flexibility where I can schedule observations like twice a week. I'll focus on going in and doing observations. And then the other 3 days, I might focus on pushing in with classroom teachers to co teach, to do like small group instruction. And then I have like duty that's assigned to do like other observations. And
Okay.
because, yeah, so it's
So
kind
how
of
are you
really
liking
fluid
this
right now.
transition?
Mm, I'm enjoying it, but also I'm like trying to be patient with myself because
Mm.
I'm trying to understand how I fit into the school, how I mesh with the staff, how I can really help students.
Mm.
Um, so I know that I'm giving myself a year to figure out if I really like it or not.
Yeah, 5 weeks is like nothing.
Yeah.
And then you had fall break and like,
Hmm.
it's like,
This is my fall break right now.
oh, thanks
Yeah.
for spending
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah. So,
I'm so honored. Uh, okay. So, mm, do teachers, are they like, um, accepting of the advice that you push?
um, some are open to it, and then
Uh-huh.
there's other people who I feel like are really overwhelmed and
Sure. Yeah.
they're kind of like, I don't want any more on my plate because it feels like too much. So it's like
Hmm.
those two different spectrums.
I mean, I would imagine if there are teachers too that like have been teaching for such a long time a
Hmm.
certain way, like
Right.
it would be hard to like change your ways.
Hmm.
But even
And
if
it's
you haven't been teaching a long time, it's hard, I'm
right.
sure.
Yeah. So it's not that they don't want to use technology. It's more like I think they probably just get frustrated with
Hmm.
having to learn something new and apply it and try to teach the content and teach kids technology. So that might be my biggest pushback.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, I don't want to push too hard, so I'll work with the teachers who are more open, and then hopefully I'll get buy-in the following year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um, so, okay, we're gonna have to come back to this whole new job thing because I really want to know like why you became a teacher, when you
mhm,
decided that. Did you know like when you were younger what you wanted to do?
mhm,
So take me back to like, like even high school, like senior year of high school.
mhm.
Are you going to college? What did you decide to do when you went? Did you know you wanted to do education?
In the back of my mind, I knew that I would always enjoy it.
Mm.
But my freshman year in college, I was trying to decide between like accounting and teaching,
Oh, okay.
and so different,
So
right?
different.
And yeah, like my first year, I took a couple of accounting classes and realized it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna just, make little money and be very happy.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, teach like I remember even just being as a kid, like playing with my sister and like, you play house, like we played school and I was the teacher and she was the student. Like
Mhm, mhm.
I just remember having those memories like ever since I was young. Like I
Yeah.
I can't see myself. I don't know what else I would be doing.
Wow. It's really cool.
I never
You
thought I would be a middle school teacher. I always wanted to be in elementary school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I kind of stumbled into that too. And I ended up loving it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so did you tell me, did you mention that your mom was a teacher?
My mom, she was a special education teacher for like the first, I don't know, before we moved to Georgia. So like for 15 years.
Where were
Yeah.
you before Georgia?
In Korea.
She was a special education teacher in Korea.
Well, she actually taught at an international school in Korea,
Okay,
but
okay.
then before that, she was in Colorado, and that's where she taught special ed.
I see. I see.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And it's funny that you say that because all I know about your parents is that they
On a
work with a
small
lot of
business.
animals. So
Yeah,
right?
that
Am I
was her second career.
yes, and they like loved it or something, right?
Yeah,
Do they
my
don't
mom.
still do that,
Yeah,
do they?
they
Okay, okay.
retired. Yeah,
Oh, good for them. I'm so happy
yeah.
for them. Oh, well, so Jenny's parents, they owned a like a pet salon,
And like a dog grooming shop
dog
and doggy
grooming.
hotel.
Yes, yes, and I there was one. It was a really big one too in
Yeah.
Atlanta, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
in
Anyways,
Midtown.
but okay, so that's really cool that she. I didn't know that she was a teacher.
Hmm.
Um, but that did that inspire you at all? Like when you guys decided?
Yeah, I feel like my mom's a very nurturing person,
Mm,
and I'm sure that had a big influence on my decision.
mm,
But like I taught at an elementary school for 1 year, taught at a high school for 1 year. Those are my first 2 years out of college.
okay.
And then um, I took some time off while I was in grad school. And when I went back, that the first job offer that I got was at a middle school.
Okay.
And I was like really nervous because I was like, I remember what I was like in middle school. Like I had so much attitude and I thought I was grown and didn't think that anyone could tell me anything. And I thought all that karma would, just come back to me.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, some of it did, but like I realized that they're just same kids in bigger bodies,
Yeah.
and they just want to be seen and
Yes.
heard and like accepted, and like that's so relatable. Like, even as a 30 something year old, like I can still relate to them, and it's fun to like connect with the kids and just, yeah, have relationships with them.
I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I am. Um, uh, okay. I was gonna ask you like stuff about school, but I do want to ask you what it's like being specifically a special education teacher. I do know
Hmm.
some people that work in special ed right now, and I know that it's very challenging. You know, there are
Hmm.
days that are really hard.
Right.
Um, do you think you could talk to me about like I know there's a lot of pros, but are there,
Hmm.
I don't want to call them cons, but
Hmm.
like some of maybe the more stressful times for you as a teacher, specifically as a special education teacher, where you were like, I don't know, just really challenged or you found it difficult or hard,
Mm,
or maybe
I
not at
guess
all. I don't know.
no, there is some, but it's just like how honest can I be? Like trying not to judge parents.
Oh,
I think that's the hardest part.
that is so hard.
And I don't have any kids, so I have to like keep that in mind too. But I think being misunderstood by a
Mm.
parent is the hardest part
In what,
because
okay, in what way? So that I don't do
like
this, like as a parent.
thinking thinking that you're like you that I don't care about your child. Like
Mm.
when we discipline the kids in the classroom, and then it becomes a bigger issue, and I call home, and then there's like we're not on the same team, then
Mm.
that's I think that's the hardest part.
Oh man, that sounds really difficult.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's like you start thinking, right? Because it's like
Right.
their own.
Hmm.
The parents usually, okay, I don't know how. Again, I don't know how honest we're gonna be right now, but like it's usually like, and it's not you
Yeah.
necessarily. It's not the teacher. It's
Hmm.
their own pride or whatever it could. Because
Hmm.
I could see myself in that situation. Um, feeling a certain way if a teacher
Hmm.
called me to talk to me about one of my kids, right?
Hmm.
And even as in my own personality, like my desire to like be just perfect in all the things, right? I would feel like imperfect.
Right.
And it would be, yes, okay. It would be difficult as a teacher not to judge parents.
Hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh man. No, no, but I feel you. I totally feel you. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I'm a
Hmm.
pastor, and
Hmm. Right.
it's it's challenging at times,
Hmm.
like especially in an environment like church where it's like you want to care for all of your kids in the best way possible, because you,
Hmm.
just like you said, everyone just wants to be seen. They just want your attention, and they
Right.
like it's you get it,
Yeah.
and then like, but then if there are things that need to be brought up,
Right.
it's
And
hard.
like, okay, so for example, I called a parent who, we were having like behavior issues with. The mom got upset and she, started giving some words. But after like actually what like I think I taught at that school for 2 years, and by the end of the rapid, this was at my last school.
Uh-huh.
And before I left, I like called the mom and was like, hey, like, I'm leaving the school, like, and I still want to, like, stay in touch with your son. And I just want to see if that's okay with you. And like, after 2 years, though, like, we were able to still, like, make amends. And she finally kind of was like, oh, like, we're on the same side.
Oh
Like, you are a good
gosh.
influence on my son. Like, yes, you can still stay in touch with him. So I still feel like, it's not like impossible to come back from those tension and awkward moments. Like
Mm,
it can still, be for the greater good.
yeah.
But
Yeah, that's so good. That's why teachers are amazing. I
yeah.
love teachers. um, okay. Um, and before I get too far ahead,
Hmm.
I did want to ask you about like your program as far as like becoming a teacher.
Hmm.
Like what does that look like? Like as far as your education, and then I know there's like a year where you guys are in the classroom too. Do you remember that? I know it's been a little while, but
So I know like at Georgia State, like after you take your core classes, you apply for the education program
okay, and that's what, like year 2 or something?
after the first 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you do like an interview with the education department. There's a couple of like standardized tests that you need to take.
Okay.
Um, and then I know that there was like a student teaching component throughout the whole program.
Okay. Okay.
But even if you don't go that route, there's if you get a undergrad degree, there's like people do Teach for America.
Mm.
So there's different ways to get certified, but I think Georgia State, at least they offered a really good teaching program that gave you like great experiences in the classroom that were like kindergarten through high school.
So that certification is just like a test, or
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Standardized test.
And then you
Yeah.
got your master's just by choice, right? You don't need that necessarily to teach.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Do you get paid more if you have your master's?
If you get a master's in an area that is relevant to what you're teaching.
Oh, okay. Got
So
it.
it used to be that if you had a master's, you automatically got a pay bump, but now it's if it has to do with whatever you're teaching.
I see, because everyone's
Yeah.
getting their
Yeah.
master's.
Yeah. Right. Like Spanish.
That's funny. Um, okay, so why did you choose to work in the Atlanta public school system?
Mm,
Oh wait, so the first year and the second year, the elementary school year and the high school year, that was
mhm.
in Atlanta too?
It was in North Fulton.
Okay, okay.
So why did I choose to be in Atlanta? Because once I realized that this was kind of like the state of like our reality as a world. Like it was hard to not be there for at least for me. Um, and you know, I met a lot of really awesome people through work, like my colleagues. I
Hmm.
feel like I've developed a friendship with them, and I feel like we are, working towards the same goal. And I feel like students in Atlanta in the hood need to be exposed to people that are different from them. And they get to see me and, get to know me. And it's, it's, I feel like it's necessary, you know?
Oh my God, Jenny,
And
I'm gonna cry.
uh,
um, yeah, I mean, I think the reason I'm getting emotional is because I think there's a lot of reasons. I think there's a lot of truth to what you just said. I think uh, you're probably gonna just hate the situation altogether as I'm like encouraging you, but um, yeah, I admire like your ability to like not just talk the talk, like just really do the things that I wish happened, like
mhm,
in my life or more often. And so, yeah, for me, I'm like truly like grateful and thankful for your like commitment, to see lives changed. And that's why I think it like, and I know you, so I'm like, oh my
mhm,
gosh, like you're amazing. And um yeah, that's really cool. But I get that, and I so much respect for even for what you just said. Like you saw the need and you couldn't walk away, but you could have, like you could have, I think, easily. And yeah, I mean, like I think even in my own life, and again, when it comes to my kids, it's like, you know, I'm sure just because you've been working with kids and parents for a long time, like you just want what's best for them.
mhm,
And even in like my current situation too, like honestly, okay, I'm really exposing myself right now, but like I love what we've chosen in this season of life. Like
mhm,
I'm super happy about it. Recently I volunteered at the school, and it it was wonderful. I was so like
mhm,
thankful and grateful. But yes, there's this little part of me, not little, but there's a part inside of my head and my husband's head too, right? It's like he is the only Asian kid in
mhm.
a class where they're all blondes.
Right. Mhm,
And I'm like, is this an issue? Um I have a lot. I don't know the answers. I grew up that way too.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't I don't know.
Mhm,
And so anyways, that was just me kind of off topic talking. But so what do you like the least about your
so
job?
what do you like the least?
Oh, okay.
Um,
Can you do your current job and teaching?
okay.
Okay.
The thing that I like the least. Um, sorry, hold on, I'm trying to think. The thing that I like the least about my job is that you can't travel when the prices are good.
I did not expect you
Yeah,
to say that.
because we have a lot of breaks, but
Right, everyone's
that's peak
traveling.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's traveling.
That's so funny. Okay. That's a great answer because for me it's like wow, teachers are so like they get a summer break, they get a
Yeah,
winter break, but you can't
it
even go
is
anywhere,
nice.
I
It is
guess.
nice. I mean, I'm just kidding. Um, I think honestly, yeah, that's like I don't have too many complaints right now.
Oh, that's great.
But
That's so good.
And sometimes when it feels like I mean, people say don't take things personally, right? Like when it comes to having issues in the classroom or with your colleagues, like don't take people say that all the time. And for me, it's like
Mm,
that's like the hardest pill to swallow because this is personal. Like I'm putting my heart and
mm,
efforts and energy and everything that I can to, into what I'm doing.
yeah.
And when people are like, "Oh, just don't take it personally," as like, words of advice, that's like I think that's hard to hear.
Yeah. No, that would be really, I mean, that's difficult for me now.
Yeah, right. Like, you mean don't be myself?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would feel like if you can't control students,
yeah,
or parents or
yeah,
colleague people, you can't control
yeah,
people.
right, right,
And like, but then at the same time, like you are in charge of these people, little people.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty challenging.
Like I went into a meeting last week with like the leadership team, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna, push personalized learning," and I was like, "Okay, cool. I have an idea," and they're all like, "Nah." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then people on the side are like, "Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally." I was like, "I'm not. How'd
It's
you know I'm
fine.
taking
My
it?"
idea was brilliant, but it's okay. Oh gosh. Okay, yes. That's good advice for all
Yeah,
of us, y'all.
yeah.
Like, don't take it personally.
Still working on
Unless
that
it is
one.
personal. Oh man. Okay, what do you like best about your job?
Mm, the best thing is when I see kids changing or growing, like
Mm,
it could be like it doesn't even have to be academically. Like if I see that they're changing into like someone different or if I see growth, like that's really rewarding.
yeah.
Like when they encourage each other from like at the beginning of the year, the kids might not get along and whatever, but then when you see them like actually caring for each other, that's really rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I was gonna say something not nice. Okay, what I was gonna say was like, oh, like when you see middle schoolers acting like just like
Yes.
kind human beings.
Yes.
It's like and not
Yeah.
themselves. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
And it's so
of
it's
course.
so funny, yeah. Like
Yeah.
some of the kids, they will like read your face. Like I didn't even say anything. They like look at me and they're like, "Oh, we know what you're thinking." And I'm like, "Oh wow."
And like I feel like middle schoolers, or at least when I was in middle school, like super candid, like,
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
upfront. Which I
Hmm.
feel like you would the chemistry I feel like with you and your students would be so like on point. Am I
Like I
wrong?
No, you are right because like sometimes I'll like go into school like not all ready and then they'll be like, "Miss Park, get your edges. You need to get your edges." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Got it."
Oh
Thanks for
god.
thanks for the tip.
That's so funny. Okay, so you were mentioning, you felt like um in the schools that you've been working in, like, yeah, they need to be exposed to different types of people, different personalities, different ethnicities and cultures or diversity in general. So do you feel like you are able, like, do you feel the impact of that, like of what you're doing? It might be hard for you to talk on that, but I don't know.
Right. Um, kind of, sort of.
Mm.
Um, like for now, like I mean, I get surprised too, like with, you know, thinking that my expectations of the students, like sometimes I'm surprised by what they know. Like, um, I think that they don't know me because they might not be exposed to Asian people, but
Mhm.
then I walked into one classroom and this kid knew more about like K-pop and like about more than I did and came up to me and was like, "Oh, I knew that, you were Korean because of the way you looked and whatever." And so that was like surprising for me too. And um it's just, but then there's some other kids that are like, you know, they expect to think that I'm Chinese or because that's all they know, I guess. But
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, yeah, no, that was
Okay.
exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. Um, I do have like more questions about
Yeah.
like just um okay, just gonna start over this question.
Hmm.
Um, so I know people that are interested in like special education teaching. So
Hmm.
like what is it like? You know, okay, I don't know how to ask cuz I think in my head it's a certain way and honestly, growing up, looking back, I don't really remember in my school like specific programs like
Hmm.
for special education, and I don't know if that's
Hmm.
just because there was a lack of students or it just wasn't existent. I have no clue, but what is it like structurally like as a
So
teacher?
it depends on the number of special ed students in that school. So
Okay.
depending on the number of kids, and each kid has something called a individualized education plan,
Uh-huh.
and it's a legal document. As far it includes everything that's like their psychological reports, their like speech reports, and their previous grades and teachers anecdotes, and it kind of also places them in what kinds of classes they can be in.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there is like self-contained classroom where students typically, if they're significantly below grade level, that's where they'll be pulled
Okay.
out into a separate class. But then for me, I worked majority of the time with in a co-taught setting where it was a general education teacher, and there's me, and then the kids are mixed. So
I
it might be
see.
kids with like learning disabilities or kids that might have Asperger's who they like intellectually they can keep up with their peers for the most part. Like there's not a significant like difference.
Okay.
So for my day to day is going to look very different from somebody a special education teacher who's in a self-contained classroom.
I see. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
And each teacher has a caseload of kids. So based on, so I might have like 10 kids on my caseload. So I'm responsible for tracking their behavior, their grades,
Mm.
and they have specific learning goals because majority of the time the kids are performing below grade level. So you have specific reading, math, writing, social, or even speech goals for that child, and you're tracking them the whole year.
Mm. Okay. That answers my question pretty clearly. I think I did not I guess I just imagined it was just like a self-contained
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really I feel like that would be a different kind of experience and um I don't know if I can say this, but like it seems less daunting,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Um just different circumstances and situations.
Right.
So you did that for 6 years, like the
Mm-hmm.
just kind of having your own caseload and then working with those students personally. Oh, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
so. Are there some students that you got to see like sixth through eighth grade then?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
special.
Mm-hmm.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
um, so and then you're saying that seeing that progress too, I'm sure has been really rewarding over the
right.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm sure I could sit with you all night if I chose to, if I wanted, because it's been so great talking to you, Jenny. But you know, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so I always ask my guests before we end our time together if they have any advice, like advice for somebody that maybe is thinking about being a teacher or even considering your new position as a
Mm-hmm.
sorry, what was it called again?
Instructional technology coach.
Instructional technology coach with ITC.
Uh-huh.
Do they call it that? No, they don't
Not
call it
really.
that. um, yeah. Do you have any advice for somebody that maybe is considering these job options and careers, or if you have any just life advice at all?
I think it's okay to change your mind and to
Mm,
try things that you didn't think you would like. Because even with like changing from accounting to teaching or changing my mind about wanting to be an elementary school or middle school teacher, like there was like some trial and error in that. And I'm glad that I did something I didn't want to do and I didn't think I would like.
mm. Um, that's like great advice. All my guests
Yeah.
give me like great advice, and I'm like, oh, I need to apply this to my life.
Yeah. I think it's, things, it's okay if you don't have that exact plan of what your life is going to look
Yeah.
like, or if you deviate, or, I think we're hard on ourselves and it's okay to wander a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that permission because I
Yeah.
think as Asian Americans specifically, a lot of us need it. You have permission to wander.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think that what I've been learning too from the podcast is like a lot of people have come on and shared stories of like even they took that accounting degree and they did all of it and then they graduated and like you know what I think I'm going to be UX UI designer instead
Hmm.
and they take a boot camp and it's okay, it's okay, like nothing, the world doesn't fall apart if it doesn't go according to plan. And Jenny, thank you so much for sharing um, this part of your life with me and with our listeners. I have learned so much, and I hate to put you on the spot again, but I do ask people if people are interested in maybe chatting more with you about your
Hmm.
job or like just have questions. Would you be open to me connecting you with them?
Yeah, sure. It was fun and I'm glad I did something that made me nervous too.
Well, okay, was it better? Were you still
It was
nervous?
better. Yeah, it
Okay,
was good.
okay.
It was good.
Okay, well, guys,
You made me feel very comfortable.
okay, good. Guys, if you have any questions for Jenny, you heard her say it. Like she's totally welcome or welcoming anybody to talk with her. Not like weird people that have weird questions, please, because don't do that. Don't do that. But like but yeah, if you want to chat with Jenny, please reach out to me. You can DM me on social media or you can email me at podcastwigu@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Thanks so much, Jenny. I really appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Love ya.